Hello, this is Nihon University. So let's get started. Why don't Japanese people speak English for some reason? Why is that? Thank you very much. Now, here we are. Why can't we speak English? Isn't it necessary for us to understand about that? Because it is, isn't it? I've been studying English for a while now, and I'm on the verge of studying abroad. I just came back from abroad. I don't intend to deliver a video on how to learn more English for people like that. I want to deliver it for me. For you who have studied English for most of your life but can't speak it. Why can't you speak first? I mean, because, don't you think so? Even though you are Japanese. Most people study English in elementary, middle, high school, and university. Most of us have been studying English for more than 10 years, maybe even 15 years, but how did it turn out? You studied English, you took the entrance exam, and you graduated from university. On top of that, I grew up and became a working adult. I went on my first trip abroad. I wondered if I could speak English, and sure enough, I could speak a blah blah blah. It kind of reminded me of junior high school English. I want to eat bread, right? I want to eat bread, or drink please. Somehow, I was able to convey the message with my body language, but when I heard the words in reply, I thought, what are you saying? I thought, what are you saying? I couldn't understand what they were saying, like a super fast F1 car. I had to put together English words in a faltering way, and finally put them together like Lego blocks. I handed him a pile of wobbly English like Jenga, and the F1 car went by. That's how Japanese people feel about English conversation, right? Isn't that how we Japanese feel about English conversation? What was it about those 15 years? For 15 years, we read and wrote and read and wrote, and took tests like TOEIC and ICAN. You took the center test for university entrance exams. On top of that, there are also first foreign languages and second foreign languages at university. You learned English as your first foreign language, and if you wanted, you learned German as your second foreign language. Since I was already proficient in English, I decided to study German as well. English, my first foreign language, was like Lego blocks in Jenga, and F1 cars were passing over it. We all thought it was a waste of time after the hellish trip abroad. We all thought, oh, it was all for nothing. That's what we thought. I can't do this anymore, I have to stop. After that, I had to rely on translation sites like Google Translate. Is it ready yet? I thought to myself as I waited. Google, are you there yet? Isn't Siri ready yet? I heard you can do simultaneous translation, but I'm relying on technology, is it finished yet? But the truth is, I feel pathetic. That's why I suddenly see a book that says, why don't you learn English again? That's why I suddenly look at books that say, why don't you learn English again? The feeling of wanting to be able to communicate with people overseas someday with my own mouth. The inadequacy of that feeling, the wasted time of those 15 years. That's what made me turn to English conversation books. There are books on English vocabulary, such as 3,000 words to remember. So I picked it up. Before you think, okay, I'll try to get up again with these 3,000 words. Don't you have something to do before that? You need to understand why you can't speak English. If I can understand this, I can get up next time. That's what I thought. So I bought a lot of books. Just like money lessons, there are many books on how to study English that tell you to do this or that. In such a situation, leave it to me. Ladies and gentlemen, I have dared to read many different kinds of books. In one of the books, there was a part that caught my attention. It's the order. Where should I start? That's the part that says, where should I start? The books that were good and the books that were bad were the exact opposite. The books that I thought were bad said, First things first. It said, first, learn the words. Then read the words. Then read the words. Then write them. After you read them, write them down. Then finally, now that you have a base of English in your brain, listen to the words. And finally, speak. I wrote. After I read that book, I read the other book. The other book said the exact opposite. Listen first. Listen with your ears. Then talk about it. If you have time, you can read, you can write. It would be a good idea to listen and talk about the words. And learn the ones you don't understand little by little. I was of two minds about the importance of these two books. I wondered what was going on with this. On top of that, I found the second book I read to be totally more convincing. The second book was much more persuasive to me. I'll tell you why. When I went abroad, I would say, "Coffee please," and the other person would reply again, and the F1 car would pass by. Are they asking for the size or something? I'm not sure, so I say, "Yes." Normal, I reply. I don't know what they're saying, but if they write it down, I'll understand. I don't know what to say, but if I calm down and think about it, I can compose an English sentence. That's why I thought the second book would be better than the first. Don't you need to listen first? Anyway, I remembered that someone once said to me, you need to be able to listen to English before you can start. The other person. You haven't heard any English yet, have you? You want to talk, right? I said, yes, I do. I want to speak English. The other person. Do you want to read English? Me. I don't want to read English. Do you want to write English? No, I don't want to write. What do you want to do? I want to talk and listen. The other person said, well, talk and listen. He told me. That's right. I understood. I wondered why I was reading and writing when I wanted to talk and listen. And I wondered why I hadn't questioned it before. I said, I want to swim. Let's start studying swimming method 1. Me, I'm studying swimming techniques and haven't been in the pool yet. You idiot. You're going to point out. Get in the pool. Put your face in the water. What do you want from learning how to swim? What do you want from learning how to swim? But is it really necessary to study vocabulary to speak English? But do you really need to study vocabulary to speak English? In the first book, it says that if you know all the words, you will be able to understand the meaning of a sentence. The first book says that if you know all the words, you will be able to understand the meaning of the sentence.
私、リンゴ、食べる、欲しい、今。
It said if you know the words, you know what I mean, but. As I recall the scene where the F1 car passed by, the words I understood when I wrote them down. I couldn't understand them right away when I heard them in words. I was not able to explain that in the first book. In actual conversations, the words sounded completely different from the words. And things that were too fast for me to get into my head could not be solved when I read the first book. However, in the second book, which I thought was better, I was able to solve this part of the problem and it made sense. Since it is a Japanese book, I won't go into details. The content is that foreign dramas are made up of only 350 words. I'm not going to go into details because it's a Japanese book. I'm not going to go into details. There are many famous foreign dramas such as Sex and the City, which is very popular and I'm sure many people know about it. However, most Japanese people, even those who have graduated from famous universities, are unable to watch these dramas without subtitles. It doesn't matter if you graduated from the University of Tokyo, Kyoto University, or any other Japanese university. When I extracted the words from the drama, Sex and the City, I found that 90% of the words were made up of 2,000 words. Furthermore, when I narrowed it down to about 80% of the total, I found that only 350 words were used in English. Very simple words like tell, say, know, and like made up 80% of the story. In addition to Sex and the City, the drama Friends also consists almost entirely of 350 words. So here's the question. So, what is so difficult about these dramas that you can't understand them without English subtitles? After all, the most important thing is that you can't understand what they are saying. I think this is because English speakers do not have the culture of speaking slowly like we do in Japan. It's not enough to know a lot of words in English. For example,
私はします。
can be either I will or I am going to, and if there are too many options, you won't know which one to choose. In this case, I'm going to means I will or I am going to. In this situation, I'm gonna go is preferable. Why is that? The reason is that I'm gonna go is the word that comes up most often in Sex and the City. If you know the word that comes up most often, you will be able to get used to the conversation naturally because you are familiar with it. If you know the word that comes most often, you can get used to it. When you want to say
すごい、
use awesome or fabulous instead of wonderful or perfect. This is also because awesome and fabulous come up a lot in Sex and the City. Japanese people have a lot of words in their memory, but they don't know which ones are used the most. So, they have a hard time understanding the words that are returned to them when they actually speak. When speaking, I think the most efficient way is to quickly formulate words from simple phrases. I think this is the same for foreign people who want to learn Japanese or other languages in reverse, so please refer to this article.